Evening. Thank you for joining us to hear information about the construction of middle school site 132 MW4, which will open in August of 2022. This school is located in the Horizon West Town Center area next to an elementary school that also has a site name. There's Site 89 EW4, which will open at the same time. A little bit later in the meeting, we'll get to talk about names. My name's Lauren Roth. I'm with the OCPS Facilities Department. A few housekeeping notes about how this meeting will work. Up on your slide, you can see that attendees are automatically muted with cameras off. Please use the Q&A tool to ask questions. You can ask questions at any time, but we don't expect to get to address your questions until the Q&A portion at the end, after the presentation. So it's available the entire meeting. You can go and put questions in even now, but we will answer them at the end. The chat is available as a backup if for some reason you can't get your Q&A to work. Right now, you should see in the chat, I've posted a link with the zoning of the school. This meeting tonight is not about zoning. It is about the construction of the school. Jeff, if you could advance the slide. The video icons you see on your screen are panelists who are available to answer questions today. I will be introducing them shortly. If you have any technical issues, you can reach out to WebEx support. I'm going to tell you their phone number and I'll also add that into the chat, that is. Their number is 866-229-3239. And then extension 2 and extension 1. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the OCPS Facilities Communications YouTube page, as well as sent out as a link to anyone who registered for today. The presentation slides are already up on the facilities website at facilities.ocps.net and on school board member Pam Gould's webpage under school board at ocps.net. So today we're going to hear about the construction of Site 132 MW4. If you were looking for a map of the school zone, that was established last year and can be viewed on the OCPS student enrollment page, and the link is also in the chat. Please again note that questions in the Q&A will be read out loud and answered at the end of the presentation. But before we get started, let's turn to District 4 Board Member Gould for some welcoming remarks.
Well, welcome everyone. I am so thrilled to be able to host this community meeting tonight about this project. This is unusual because we already have a school base and now they get to move into their second new building, which is pretty darn exciting, I think. So without further ado, let's get started and hear where we are in the plans. Lauren, back to you.
All righty, so I just
Lauren, it may be me, but I can't hear you.
It was me. Sorry, I didn't hit unmute. I apologize. So this is the 40% construction meeting for Site 132 MW4. This is the last meeting in a series of meetings that have been held related to this school through the design process and as we kicked off construction. The next meeting actually will be the sneak peek for this school right before it opens, which is really, really exciting. So thank you to Board Member Gould for hosting this meeting. Area Superintendent Dr. Jennifer Cupid McCoy is on the line, and you'll hear from her in just a moment. I also want to thank Executive Area Director Wendy Ivory for being here today. I see Principal Jackson from Bridgewater is online, and we have several representatives from Hunt & Brady, the architect, on the call today. You will hear from Mauricio Masso and from Tom Wannen. The construction is being done by Wellbro, and so you'll hear from Jeff Carter. And the civil and traffic engineer on this project is Rick Baldacchi. He is also available. So as I mentioned, I'm with the OCPS facilities team doing communications. Jessma Lambert from construction planning is on the line. From facilities planning, Stephen Thorpe is with us. And the team project manager for this project is Maher Chatila. And I want to mention him specifically because he's the one who's the liaison between OCPS and the architect and the construction manager, making sure that what gets built is what the school district intended to have built, and that it meets all requirements. In addition, from transportation, we have Adam Zubritsky, so that's OCPS transportation. And from our fire inspection department, we have Gail Ivy. So we work really closely with our municipal partners on a project like this. And for this project, we work closely with Orange County. And Diana Almodovar from Orange County Public Works, I believe, is going to be on tonight. And Christina Pichardo Cruz from Orange County Traffic. So if there are questions about things that are off our site, I tend to turn to them for those. So with that, let me turn things over to Dr. Cupid McCoy, the area superintendent for the West Learning Community.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. As Lauren stated, I'm the area soup for the West Learning Community, and I want to share with you the tentative timeline for a couple of items related to the new middle school. The process will begin this December to identify the new principal, and that entails posting the position and conducting interviews. Once that process is completed, the top 3 recommendations will be submitted at the end of December to the superintendent. In early January next year, the superintendent will interview 1 or all 3 of those recommended candidates, and she will select 1 for submission to the board. Once that's approved by the board, that individual will become the new principal. Once that person's named, that person immediately begins interviewing and extending offers of employment to continuing contract teachers and teachers on professional services contract from the feeder schools. Later on, around February or so, the principal will engage the new school community to solicit their input, because it's important that the naming process is completed in a timely manner, as it impacts some additional things that occur at the school. So the community will be involved in the naming process. They will be involved in identification of the colors along with the mascot of the school. At about this time as well, the principal will continue the interviewing process and will now extend offers of employment to CC, PSC, and annual contract teachers, except this time it's district-wide. And that process will clearly be ongoing until the school is fully staffed. Right around March or so of next year, once that the process of soliciting input from the community is completed and there are recommendations for school names, I will take those recommendations to the board for the board's final approval. Once that process is complete, the school will then officially have a name and will be referred to as such moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Tom Wannon. I'm the project manager with Hunt and Brady Architects, and I'm going to share a little information about the design of the school. The first image here shows the general location of the school. You can see Avalon Road on the right side of the image, and this is just a little bit south of New Independence Parkway. The school will be accessed off of Street A, as it's shown here, which will be named in the future. And the site overall kind of really accommodates 2 schools, the middle school on the right-hand side and an elementary school on the left. This is a prototypical design, and by that I mean it's one that we have designed and constructed before for Orange County Public Schools, and this will be the third time this prototype is constructed. It features enhanced learning environment, includes the latest technology standards by OCPS. We're going to share some illustrations to show the site circulation for both the parent pickup and drop-off, as well as the bus drop-off area. We're going to share some information on safety and security of the campus and the school. and show how this is going to be a great community asset. So looking a little closer at the site plan, Street A is on the bottom of the page. As mentioned, the middle school's on the east side or on the right, and the elementary school is on the left. It is 21 acres overall. The parent pickup and drop-off area and main parking is in the front of the school, and you can see there's 3 access points for that parking lot. We'll show a diagram that shows how you enter and how you circulate through that parking lot. And then separately,
Tom, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got a comment that people are having a hard time hearing. Is there a chance you could bump up your volume a little bit before we keep going?
I could try to talk a little louder. Does this help?
That's good. That's good. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, no problem. So as mentioned, the parking area is in the front of the school with the drop-off, pickup and drop-off along that parking arrangement. Separately, there's a different entrance for the school buses, which goes along Street B, goes to an access road that goes behind the school, and you can see a loop right in between the elementary school and middle school, and that's for the buses. So there's separate drop-off for the elementary school and a separate drop-off for the middle school that circulates around the central energy plant. In addition to the buildings, there's also the field areas on the right side of the plan. So we have the track and field area, softball field, basketball courts, tennis courts, and future portables. And one thing on the access to the site I just want to point out is the center access is a signalized intersection. So there will be a traffic light there, and that is a location where there's a pedestrian crossing to the opposite side of Street A. And if we go to the next slide. So this shows the circulation pattern if you were dropping off your student or picking up. So going to the middle school, you access the easternmost or right side entrance. You would circulate through the parking area shown in blue and drop off at the front of the middle schools. After you drop off, you would continue along the purple route to get back out onto Street A to exit. This area in front of the school has a queuing capacity of 291 cars. And this parking lot it circulates through accommodates 170 parking spaces. In the back, you can see the orange path is the path that the buses would take along the loop and exit out along the darker blue color. And this bus loop can accommodate 25 buses. The next slide shows the circulation for the walkers and bikers to the school. So in red is the sidewalk system that accesses the school, and as you go around the parking lot, you drop off your bicycles in the bike racks shown in the blue rectangles. So one thing to point out is this circulation path is completely separate from the vehicles, so it's a very safe route to get to those bicycle racks for the school. So we could accommodate 172 bicycles with expansion space for an additional 102. Okay, looking a little closer at the building design, the building floor plans, the main entrance to the school is right in the center between the administration area and the media center. This is a secured access point. So if you're coming to the school during school hours, you come through an exterior door, get your badge, so you're not allowed into the school itself. It's very secure, Sally Port design is what we refer to it as. Media center is on the right side. And then as you go through the main circulation, there's a main corridor or concourse that runs from left to right of the school that connects all the major components. The kitchen and cafeteria component is in the light blue. And just above that is the music wing. The music wing is located in a little bit of a separate wing because it does generate noise and is separated from the classrooms to be less of a disturbance or distraction. The ground floor in the orange color is some of the specialized labs for the school. And the next one is the classrooms and labs that are specific for the 6th grade students. And then on the far right side of the floor plan is the gymnasium and locker rooms. So then as we move up to the 2nd floor, the classroom wings are 2 stories tall, and we have the main circulation space in light gray at the front. And these 2 wings would be used for 7th grade students and 8th grade students. The next image, I think, is going to show a 3D image of what the school would look like when completed. In the immediate foreground, we see Street A, and that intersection right there at the front is where it's going to be signalized with a traffic pattern, and that's also a pedestrian crossing. That pedestrian crossing would connect to a county park that's proposed on the south side of the street. So we could see the parking area in the front of the school, and you could see some of the drop-off canopies at the front, and a large canopy that signifies the main entrance to the school that accesses the administration area. And then the next slide shows more of an eye-level view of the front of the school, so we could see a little better the lower canopies. That's for the protection of the vehicles at the drop-off area, and then the larger, taller canopy that signifies the main entrance for accessing the school. I then want to mention a little bit about sustainability with the building design. So the site utilizes native and plants that require very little irrigation to reduce the water consumption. The building itself has very efficient HVAC systems, air conditioning systems. Chillers used reduce the energy consumption by 8%. We use a light colored roof to reflect a lot of the sun's energy. We have water saving fixtures for the toilets and faucets. And a lot of the spaces, over 85% of the spaces, have daylighting, including every single one of the classrooms has access to daylighting. And then finally, there's a fully automated building control system, which reduces energy consumption by up to 10%. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Jeff.
Jeff, if you could make sure to speak loudly, because we're still getting concerns about volume. Oh, Jeff, you're still muted.
There we go.
That's it.
That'll explain the volume problem. My name is Jeff Carter. I'm with Wellbro Building Corporation, project manager out here for Site 122 project. So last time we have spoke, we were in towards the end of the design phase. As you can see, we have received our GMP and started working out here at the very beginning of February. And here we are just at the end of the summer months, about 40% done with construction. So where we're at now in the phase here, we've got the foundation and the slabs up. Down on the ground, we did pour our wall panels, which are cast in place on site on top of the slabs, and we did erect those buildings in place now. So the walls are up, our structural steel, which is our deck, joist, beams, columns, everything included to tie this building together. That is all in place now. We've got the roof system ongoing right now. We're substantially dried in at this point. We've done some light gauge metal framing on the 2-story building, first floor now. All your classrooms are now framed. We have started interior mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough-ins on these areas. And as we go into the following winter months here, we're going to start getting the rest of the framing done and start working on interior finishes, get the power on the building, the air circulating, and come to a final close here May 31st, ready for teachers and faculty to start moving in the building. Currently, as you see, we talked about with Tom earlier, Avalon is out here on the east side. We do have a temporary access road while Street A is being constructed. Currently, we do have an access road to the site with our 3 exits for emergency egress, as well as a few laydown periods are out there with our job site trailer on site here, and then the elementary school on the west side of us as well. So back in February when we first started, developers provided this beautiful piece of land, the 21 acres that Tom mentioned is currently right here. This overall for both sites is 33 acres. So that's right before we got started. And as we moved into the March months, as you can see, these foundations are starting to take place. We're currently working to get our access road into the job site and around the buildings to start build that so these workers can continue going. We did get the retaining wall up here, provided much more storage space on site and cleaned it up a little bit and started working on the retaining wall on this north side too. And we moved into April. The foundations at this point are in place. We started doing the slab work here, started getting ready for the concrete floors, as well as started doing the what we call as casting panels, just additional slab spots for these wall panels to be cast in place out here on site, just providing a little more room and to stay progressively busy out there. The site guys are starting to get a little more development out here in the parking lot and get a place for these guys to park out here each and every day. Moving into May, half of the slab at this point is done, and we've started doing the panels on the slab as well, moving through as they follow through on a counterclockwise sequence here is the way we planned it from, and it's been going well for us out there. In June, our slabs are done. Wall panels are probably about 80% complete at this point. Here's these additional casting beds we talked about earlier, utilizing those as well. And then again, still clearing the area, working through some roads. Pretty big site out here, so making sure everyone can get in and out at all times. And just like that, within the next 30 days, those wall panels are up. We've also got the, here's the little crane right here, putting the wall panels in place, and additional cranes in place here to start working on the structural steel. What I mean is these columns and beams in here, this is what supports the second floor system. So those are in place, getting ready to start doing the second floor pour before we start putting the joists in place. At the same time of this, you can kind of see out here in the distance, the elementary school starting to take shape. And then moving into August here, we've got the steel joist in on all of the buildings except for the gym. Roof decking is going on. We're starting to get the membrane ready to go in place, as well as you can kind of see the track starting to take shape with the mass grading activities out here. And again, elementary school going along with us side by side. And in September, a lot of the lightweight concrete for the roof deck is down. This is part of the structural system for the roof. And then we will start going, you can see it going here, the membrane starting to lay out on this side as well. At this time, you can kind of see the different colors on the outside of the building. Priming is going on, some paint activities, whatnot. At the same time, interior framing and layout also ongoing on these two buildings right here. So some activities early on in April and May before we started. We did start a lot of early morning pours. As you know, these are very large pours. These guys stuck out through some long days to make this building happen, and they've got the work on the slabs going. We start framing and forming these tilt panels on these slabs as we talked about. You can kind of see out here these openings. Those are your window openings. That'll be the structural steel tie points in these little areas here. And then these get poured. They'll sit, and then in time for this guy to come out here and start standing these panels. These are the first day the guys were out here standing the panels, and within 12 days your building was up and we're inside working. Here's the structural steel guys, the steel joist. This right here is the music area, one of the wide open spaces, so we wanted to get this going quickly as possible, as well as the two-story building. You can see the decking on both of these areas already in place. And on the inside activities, fire spray placement is going on. These guys are spraying all of the columns, beams, every structural steel component in there for fire protection. And then we've got the inside interior framing going on. This is actually a picture of building 5, first floor with the classrooms. And then we're also getting the electrical rooms ready to go, getting the panels in there. The walls will be built around these rooms, and then we can start getting these ready to go for when Duke's ready to start pre-power out here. The picture you see here on the left is the gym, also a very large open space for some future basketball games to be played out here. Again, the steel joist in place and the vented deck out here. Roofing system will go on top of that. And then here's a picture of the exterior with those colors in place as we're working around the building. As always, counterclockwise. And from Avalon or even 429 at this point, you can see those colors that take place on this building. With that, I will turn it back over for questions and answers.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. So everyone, whether you're joining the call now or you've been on the whole time, take a look at your screen now because you'll see some instructions on how to put questions into the Q&A. We do have a few questions that have come in already. The first one was what the address of the school is. And what I have is 6650 Avalon Road. Jessma, you can correct me if I don't have that right. But we'll have an Avalon Road address, unless that's temporary.
I'll check, get back with you in a minute.
Great, thank you. Now this is maybe a Diana question. There's a question of whether there will be a light at Avalon Road and A. I do not personally know.
The developer is responsible for the signalization at that intersection. And they're again, I don't have a schedule, but they are responsible to install the signal.
Okay, so that there will be one at some point?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you. There was a question on whether the zone is final. Yes, the link that I put into the chat with the zone of the school, that was adopted by the school board last school year after a community meeting process. All right, let's see if I've got any more questions in yet. Is it, okay, here's a question. Is it feasible for students from the Summer Lake neighborhood to bike to school? Is there a safe path? Jeff, could you go back to the, I think it was slide 7? Or actually, maybe it's a little bit later, the one where you show the bike walk path?
Yeah. Should be pulling up there.
Okay. Now, I don't know if we have, do we know, I don't know if this would be an Adam question or if this would be a county question. Have we looked yet at whether there's a safe walk route from, particular neighborhoods at this point?
Hi, this is Christina from Orange County. I have not looked into the paths yet, but that is something I could definitely look at if you want to share with me the contact information of the resident.
Okay. Sounds good. And Mandy, if you want to shoot me a private message with an email address, I'll connect you to. Adam, were you going to add something to that?
No, I think Christina answered it. We really haven't done too much evaluation for mainly number one, the area is still under construction on Avalon Road, and there's a lot of construction projects that are taking place to make the roads wider and add sidewalks and whatnot. And then, of course, this is a new street that's coming in, so then that wouldn't be completed yet.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Thanks.
A question came in, will the main entrance and exit use existing Water Spring Elementary roadways? And this is not the site that's next to Water Spring. That would be Water Spring Middle School, which is a different middle school. This one's in Town Center off of Avalon Road. This is the other middle school and elementary school that's also being built in a relatively small area at the same time.
Hey, Lauren.
Yeah.
This is Maher Chatila, the project manager from OCPS. I'd just like to correct one piece of information on the signalized driveway at the school. And it is the very first driveway, not the one in the middle. Correct. This is the one that will be signalized.
Okay, well, thank you for correcting that. If, you know what, I'll actually change the presentation online after this meeting. Let's get a revised version of the presentation, and I'll overwrite the other one because I don't want information out there showing it in the wrong place.
Absolutely. It is currently 90% designed and it's with the county for review. So it is still really in design phase.
Understood. Okay, well, thank you for the clarification. All right, looks like oh, go ahead.
You're correct. The temporary address is 6650 Avalon Road. So it is temporary at this time.
Gotcha. So that won't necessarily be the permanent address, correct?
Yes, but more than likely it will, but it may not be.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Lauren, on the signal, if we could get a date for the follow-up on that, because that's part of that safety for biking and walking. If we know when that assessment and when that plan will get finalized, because I'd like to be able to communicate that out whenever it happens in the timeline, so that since we don't have another meeting, we can put it in the newsletter, we can put it on our Facebook page and make sure this community knows about it.
Absolutely. And Maher, if you could get with me after the meeting about that. And to the resident that wants the Water Spring Middle info, either send me a private message with your email address, or my email address is lauren.roth, which is lauren.roth@ocps.net. I will also drop that into the chat, but if there are things that you want to follow up with me about, we can do that. All right, and I see we've gotten a couple more questions coming in. Where's okay, somebody's not seeing the zoning. So for the individual who can't see the chat, I will drop the zoning into a Q&A message directly to you. There's a question, will there be an indoor gym for the elementary school as well? No, we don't have an indoor gym in our elementary school prototype, but the middle school will have one. We have a question. What are thoughts on the one-way in and out for two schools that seems to cause traffic nightmares for other similar setups? So Hunt and Brady, can you kind of explain how that all works? I mean, I know that they have different start times, but kind of how is that designed to work?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is Tom Wannon with Hunt and Brady. So for the middle school entrance, that's really where you're coming in. That's that right hand side, that signalized entrance that Maher talked about. I'll wait for the image to come back up here. There we go. Okay. So one of the benefits is because there's different start times between middle and elementary school, we could take advantage of the full parking lot between the two for queuing of cars. We're able to get a lot more cars that can queue up in the parking lot. So basically you can circulate around the first lane of parking, go back down the center lane, and then drop off at the middle school. And then when you exit through the purple, you're exiting on the far left side. When it's not pick up and drop off, that peak period when we got a lot of cars coming in and out, the center entrance, can be used if you're going to visit the school to pick up your child, and if they're sick and you need to pick them up in the middle of the day, you can use that to access the elementary school. So you're not having to access the far right one and go all the way down the parking lot to get to the elementary school.
Okay, hopefully that helps answer that a bit. Let's see what else we have. And also to any of the panelists, if you've had any questions sent directly to you, please let me know, because I wouldn't necessarily be able to see them. So there's a question, can we show some slides to show what the inside of the elementary school will look like, much like we did for the middle school? So we actually have a separate design and construction process for Site 89. And because that school started construction later, as you can see, as you saw on some of the aerials, it had only just started. That school will hit 40% construction in early 2022. So when we have the 40% construction meeting for that school, we'll have a separate meeting about that school with those images. It's also possible that we might have shown some images of the inside of the what the elementary school would look like at the previous meeting we had for the elementary school. So if you go to facilities.ocps.net and look at community meeting presentations, just look at the most recent one for site 89. Okay, and there's a comment that in practice at Water Spring Elementary and what will be the middle school, that the elementary doesn't finish dismissal until 3:30, and that sometimes people line up an hour before pickup. So that'll need to be something that when we have a principal in place for both schools that they work together on. She also mentioned that it can cause trouble with buses as well. Yeah, another comment on that Water Springs having an issue because the car pickup line is so long. Okay, there's a question about getting on and off Avalon. Okay. The question is, so everyone will have to be using Street A, and there may not be a lot of walkers, so it'll almost all will be by car/bus. I guess the concern being traffic backing up all the way. And we do have staff who come out to schools and help them figure out how to best utilize the queuing lines. So once these schools open, I'm expecting that they'll get a lot of help because it will be, something that they'll have to figure out a way that really works. Okay, so if the schools share a car line, how can mixing, so like an early middle school parent with a late elementary school parent, be prevented? That is an interesting question. I don't know if anybody on the OCPS facilities team has, or the design team has given thought to that. If the entire long line is open, will there be a way to kind of allow the elementary parents to go ahead of the middle school parents? I would think that the second lane could be used for that, because I'm just looking at this line and it looks like the second row of cars in stops kind of when you reach the canopy. So Tom, am I correct in assuming that the idea there is that the elementary parents could continue forward and pass the lined up middle school parents if it were like that?
So the width of the lanes are set up, and the queuing capacity is set up for a double stacking, which is common amongst OCPS schools. So in terms of space for another kind of bypass lane, there would not be enough width for that. However, if there was an issue with staggering times between the two schools, and I don't know offhand what the stagger of time is, but if there is a lengthy queuing process of say an hour or more, like the participant suggested, this parking lot is designed to be a little bit flexible in that when you come in the first lane and you're coming down to the left, you could not extend all the way to the far left-hand side of the elementary school parking lot. You could make basically loop your U-turn at that center area. And I apologize, I can't point to the screen, otherwise I would right now.
Yeah, Jeff, if you could kind of indicate that middle path, yeah, and where the elementary school line could kind of, yeah, so they could
so
come
right,
off.
yeah. Correct, right. So the queuing for the middle school could be shortened, so that you make your basically U-turn right there and then go back to the front of school. That would allow access for elementary parents to use the center entrance and park in one of the parking spaces on the left-hand side in front of the elementary school without interfering with the queuing of the middle school.
Okay,
so
great.
Hopefully that answers the question, that there's a little flexibility built in, and I think it's really, once the queuing is established and understand how early parents are coming for stacking, I think that could be accommodated.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tom. So there's a question, when is the elementary school supposed to open? So I'm reading that as like date. So it'll also open in August of 2022. So the middle school began design and construction earlier because it takes longer to design and build a middle school than an elementary school. So the elementary school got started later, and it's also, you know, not quite at the same stage as the middle school, but because it takes less time to build an elementary school, they'll be ready at the same time. Adam, we have a question for you. Is the busing boundary requirement still 2 miles or greater for middle school?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and while we've got you, Adam, can you kind of explain how the busing works, like how people will know if they're eligible for busing or not?
Towards the end of this school year, if it's opening next school year, we start to work on that. They'll know at the end of the summer because we'll have to build routes based on eligibility.
Okay, and there will be notification.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions that were sent directly to them? No? Okay. Let me see. Okay, we talked about the stoplight. I'm just going through to make sure that I've gotten all of the questions. Okay, I think we've gotten all of them. Is anybody seeing any questions in the chat that I didn't address? And let me drop my email address. And Pam, do you want me to drop your email address into the chat also? Okay. So I'm
Yes,
putting my-
please.
Yep. Go ahead.
Lauren, I have a couple questions that maybe it came to me only. I'm not sure how this works, but one of them says, "Will kids walking and riding bikes need to cross over Avalon Road?" And I don't think we know the answer to that question at this time, right?
Well, some will because if you look at the zoning map, which Lauren included in the link, there's a link you can copy and go see the zoning map. So those on the east side of Avalon Road will have to cross, and those on the west side will be on the same side because the school's on the west side of Avalon Road.
Okay, and I've dropped my email address in the chat, and I typed Pam's wrong, so I'm sending it again now. I was like, nope, that's not right. So I'm just sending that now. So any follow-up questions, feel free to send them to me, or you know, if it's kind of more of a board member level question, send it to Pam. And the parent who wanted information on Water Spring, just look for an email from me. So are there any closing remarks you'd want to make or comments, board member Gould?
Thank you for coming. Please share the links with your neighbors because I think it's very good that people understand the plans going forward. And if they have any questions, as Lauren said, feel free to reach out to her or to me. Lisa Bourne, who's my aide, has been on this call as well and listening. So we will try to get you in the right location or send it back. And as we learn more about the road plans and the finalizations there, we'll try to push that out.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much to everybody for joining us. This meeting has been recorded, and so we will be putting it up on YouTube and sending a link to anybody who registered. So feel free to send people that way, and we will get a copy of the presentation up that shows the correct location of that signal. So thank you again for joining us.